Welcome back to Expand Your Mind, the podcast where we delve into the figures, the ideas, and the moments in history that shaped our world. I'm James.
And I'm Martha. And James, today we're talking about a woman who seems almost too remarkable to be real. A figure who wasn't just in history, but actively bent it to her will. We are talking, of course, about Eleanor of Aquitaine. To understand her, you first have to understand where she came from. She wasn't just some noblewoman. She was born around 1122 as the heir to the Duchy of Aquitaine in what is now southwestern France.
And this wasn't just a small plot of land. Aquitaine was enormous, larger and wealthier than the lands directly controlled by the King of France himself. It was also a cultural hub. While the north was more austere, Aquitaine was the land of troubadours, poetry, and a more liberal, sophisticated court.
Exactly. And Eleanor was raised in that environment. She was highly educated, fluent in Latin, skilled in music and literature, but her life took a dramatic turn when she was about 15. Her father, the Duke, died while on a pilgrimage, and in his will, he made King Louis VI of France her guardian.
A very clever political move by the Duke. He knew his daughter was now the most eligible and vulnerable heiress in all of Europe. By placing her under the king's protection, he ensured her lands wouldn't be carved up by opportunistic lords.
And the king had the perfect plan. Within hours of learning of the Duke's death, he arranged for Eleanor to marry his own son and heir, also named Louis. They were married just 3 months later, and days after that, the old king died. Suddenly, at just 15 years old, Eleanor was the Queen of France. But this was a marriage of opposites.
The new king, Louis VII, was devout, quiet, and almost monastic in his personality. He was raised for the church before his older brother's unexpected death made him the heir.
And Eleanor was not. She was vibrant, worldly, and assertive. The Parisian court found her frivolous, and she found them dull. The relationship was strained from the start, and it only got worse. They had 2 daughters, but no son, which was a huge source of pressure.
The real breaking point, though, came during the Second Crusade. Now, this is incredible. Eleanor insisted on going with her husband to the Holy Land. She didn't go as a bystander. She went as the feudal leader of the soldiers from her Duchy of Aquitaine.
Imagine that, a queen leading her own vassals on a crusade. While there in Antioch, she spent a lot of time with her uncle, Raymond of Poitiers. He was a handsome, charismatic ruler, much more like the men she knew from home. Rumors started to fly. Whether they were true or not, the gossip deeply damaged her relationship with the pious Louis.
The crusade was a military disaster, and by the time they returned to France, the marriage was in shambles. After 15 years, they had it annulled. The official reason was consanguinity, that they were too closely related, a common excuse for politically inconvenient marriages at the time.
But here's where Eleanor's agency truly shines. She wasn't sent to a convent to live out her days. She was once again the Duchess of Aquitaine, the most powerful bachelorette in Europe. On her way back to her own lands, 2 different powerful lords actually tried to kidnap and forcibly marry her to claim her territory.
She evaded them, and just 8 weeks after her marriage to the King of France ended, she made a move that would change the course of European history forever. She married Henry Plantagenet, the Duke of Normandy.
And Henry was everything Louis was not. He was energetic, ambitious, and a brilliant military leader. He was also 11 years younger than her. And, most importantly, he was in line to become the King of England.
2 years later, he was crowned King Henry II of England, and Eleanor became a queen for the second time. And with this marriage, her vast lands in France, Aquitaine, were now tied to the English crown. This created the Angevin Empire, a massive territory that stretched from the Scottish border all the way down to the Pyrenees Mountains in Spain.
And this right here is the root of centuries of conflict between England and France. It all started with this marriage.
Together, Henry and Eleanor were a powerhouse, and they had children. Lots of them. 8 in total, including 5 sons. You might recognize a few of their names: Richard the Lionheart and King John.
For a while, things worked. But Henry was a notoriously difficult man and a serial philanderer. His most famous affair was with Rosamund Clifford. Tensions grew within the family, especially as their sons grew older and wanted their own power and land.
In 1173, the family imploded. Their eldest surviving son, also named Henry, launched a revolt against his father, and he was supported by his brothers Richard and Geoffrey, and shockingly, by their mother. Eleanor sided with her sons against her husband.
It was a massive gamble, and it failed. Henry II crushed the rebellion, and his punishment for Eleanor was severe. He had her imprisoned.
And she wasn't just under house arrest for a year or two. She was held captive, moved between various castles in England for 16 years. Can you imagine? Going from being one of the most powerful women in the world to a political prisoner held by your own husband?
But her story isn't over. In 1189, Henry II died. The first thing her favorite son, Richard the Lionheart, did upon becoming king was to order her release. And suddenly, at the age of 67, Eleanor was back.
And she wasn't just a quiet queen mother. Richard spent very little time in England. He was almost immediately off on the Third Crusade. So who ruled England in his absence? Eleanor. She acted as regent, governing the realm, raising the astronomical ransom needed when Richard was captured on his way home, and putting down the rebellion of her youngest son, John.
She was in her late 60s and early 70s, traveling on horseback across the Alps to deliver that ransom money, negotiating with German princes. Her energy was just boundless. She even outlived Richard. When he died, she threw her political weight behind her last surviving son, John, ensuring his succession to the throne.
She remained politically active well into her late 70s, arranging strategic marriages for her granddaughters. She finally retired to Fontevraud Abbey, the very place where she had been imprisoned for a time.
She died there in 204, at the age of about 82, an astonishingly long life for that era.
Her final resting place is so symbolic. She was buried at the Abbey, and her tomb effigy shows her lying down, but not in prayer. She's reading a book, a testament to her lifelong love of learning and culture. She lies between her husband, Henry II, and her favorite son, Richard the Lionheart. The family, so torn apart in life, reunited in death.
When you look back, her legacy is staggering. She was a central figure in the 12th century. Her descendants sat on nearly every throne in Europe, earning her the title the Grandmother of Europe. She was a patron of the arts, a political force, a queen of two nations, and a woman who refused to be a footnote in anyone else's story.
She truly was the Lioness in winter, a woman of incredible intelligence, resilience, and ambition who navigated a world dominated by men and left an indelible mark on it.
A remarkable life, and a reminder that history is full of powerful women whose stories deserve to be told.
That's all the time we have for today on Expand Your Mind. Join us next time as we explore another fascinating corner of our world.
Until then, stay curious.